they're gonna put there since it's in the district. Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. That's correct. Yeah, this is a site plan review for Garber Motors. As you said, it was already presented previously.
Can you hear?
Yeah, let me see if I can adjust this a little bit. Maybe.
Where's that be?
Is that better? Is that better? Okay.
Can't hear it right there.
Yeah, I think it's this speaker's on. This speaker's working.
This is what I can guess here.
Right. Wait, how do I do that?
All right, testing. Is that any better back there? Stay right there. Okay, that works. So this is a site plan review for Garber Motors. As you said, this was previously rezoned the property to B1. And as you stated as well, this is in the Route 360 overlay district. So the zoning ordinance requires review of the concept plan by the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors. It is sort of unique in that this is not a special exception permit request, not a rezoning. So there's no ability to put conditions on this request. It's pretty much as long as it meets the code, you approve it. So staff has reviewed this proposal and it complies with the applicable requirements of the.
They're way over good. They're good now.
Yeah, I've heard it.
Okay, yeah. It's funny because we can't hear that at all. You would think it's very good that big.
Somebody.
Okay. How's that? Can you hear that? No. Yeah, it's back off.
There's no medium.
Yeah, I'll have it fixed here just a second.
Okay.
See if that works for you.
Okay. Can you hear that? Okay, we're good. So yeah, the staff has reviewed the site plan. It complies with the requirements of the B1 zoning district and additional standards of the Route 360 overlay district. So staff.
We're working on it.
Okay. He's gonna turn it up.
Can you hear that?
Just keep talking.
Okay, I'll keep talking. Bottom line, they have to approve this anyway, so. So while review of the concept plan is required, again, you have no discretion to make changes unless it's to be compliant with the code. So the recommended action is there in your packet, and I can answer any questions that you have.
Any questions?
Space out.
Any questions from the commission members? All right, no questions yet. We'll open for the public hearing. Anyone like to speak for or against Garber Motors project? Please come forward, state your name, address. Anybody like to speak? Did you hear anything online that you know of? Ain't no one speaking. I'll close the public hearing on Garber Motors. Turn it back to the Planning Commission. What's your pleasure? Can I get a motion for acceptance?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion made to approve.
Second.
Second. Harris, second. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion for approval, go to the Board of Supervisors, make a note by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 100%. The second public hearing or what we discussed tonight is a mobile home for farm laborers. Mr. Watkins, and we'll see what that is.
Okay, is that any better? No.
Maybe take your mic off and walk
Yeah.
halfway in there. They can hear you and we can hear you.
We're gonna try that. Okay.
He's like, oh man. It's running through. I was like. There you go.
Okay, can you guys hear me if I face this? Is that good? Okay, sweet. So this is a special exception permit request for a mobile home for farm laborers on property located at 11541 Grub Hill Church Road, tax map 2110B. The property is zoned RR3 rural residential. And again, this is a mobile home for farm laborers. The code allows for the placing of a detached mobile home on a farm for use as a dwelling unit by one or more persons employed on the farm as a farm laborer or by members of the family operating the farm. No separate lot required as it permitted use by special exception. So therefore, we have the special exception permit request. The applicant submitted a sketch showing an approximate location of the double wide. It would be approximately a 2,300 square foot double wide on the Winterham Road side of the property. The applicant states it would allow for farm employees to stay in more modern housing than their current housing. And the parcel does have an existing single-family dwelling, so this would be a second dwelling on the property, but again, it's allowed by a special exception per the code. There's a more zoomed out view of the property that you have in your packet as well, showing the approximate location of the double wide on the Winterham Road side of the property. And staff, again, if you choose to recommend approval of this request, staff would recommend the conditions that the proposed mobile home shall be a mobile home double wide, that the proposed mobile home shall be located in general proximity to the location shown on the sketch submitted with the application, and that the proposed mobile home meet applicable setback requirements for agricultural structures. So that would be an increase to the setbacks from that which would normally be required for a regular home. I think it's 150-foot front setback would be required versus 100 feet for. So a little additional setback with that condition. And I can answer any questions.
Any questions or questions before we open the public hearing? Is there a well and septic at this site? Or you have to, will be a new well and new septic
I
at
believe,
the
yeah.
same site, at the present, the site, possible site. Everything be new. Any questions? We'll open the public hearing.
Are there currently any other dwellings on the property?
Yeah, there's currently one other dwelling on the property. It's not near this dwelling. It's more in the middle
One
of the
house,
property.
I think. I think their entrance is off Grub Hill Road,
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Yes.
and this entrance would be out for Winterham. Back road. Any more questions before I open the public hearing?
Is there a limit on how many people can be in a house?
Never heard of
There,
that.
there is no limit that I'm aware of. Certainly, if that's a concern, that could be a condition imposed on the request. So, yeah, the question was if there's a limit on the number of people that could reside in the home. There, as far as I'm concerned, there would not be. There's nothing in the zoning ordinance specific to that. If that's something that the planning commission would want to recommend or the board would want to impose, that could become a condition that could be imposed as a special exception for a request.
Well, or septic. I mean, there's always.
Well, and septic would be your,
I could have 30 people on that.
as long as you, if you only have two bedrooms, two things, just depend how many, bathrooms normally have. That's how your septic
I
system.
just figured there was an occupancy on it.
Any more questions before I open the public hearing?
How many people are you planning on living in there?
Yes.
We presently have 8. With the expanding, we'd like to have the capacity of 10, but we generally 8 people is all we need for our.
So all 8 of them are gonna live in a double wide? Are all 8 of them gonna live in a double wide?
Yes.
Any more questions before we open the public hearing? Hearing no question from commission members, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone like to speak, come to the mic, state your name and address. Try to keep it as short as possible. And we will, is on tape and it will be, monitored. Just come forward, state your name and address, that's all we ask.
My personal address is the address that's being impacted.
Your personal address.
Thank you. Good evening, Planning Commission. Thank you for your time today. My name is Monica Robinson, and I'm here on behalf of the Florence Robinson Estates, and we are opposed to the placement of the mobile home for laborers on the property. The property is adjacent to our family land, and as you all know, it's zoned RR3, which is residential, must have 3 acres to build a home, and we don't feel that it's necessary to have a mobile home there to include laborers. That could be, as he said, up to 10 people, and in the future, may be a request for later to have more associates or more workers there as well. We're concerned about the encroachment potentially on our property that we may not be aware of. So our ask of the Planning Commission is to not to approve this request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak for or against? Just state your name and address.
I'm Kathleen Hadfield. We own Winterham Manor House on Grub Hill Church Road. And I'd like to ask Mr. Watkins some questions. Are all the laborers documented?
Yes, they are. They are here on an H2A visa.
What do you call that, an
H2A.
H2A agricultural program? And which months will they be employed?
They're here, the visa's good for up to 10 months, but eventually February 15th through December 15th.
And we've talked about their access to water, and it will be a septic system. And what about electricity?
The reason we selected that area is because there is an adjacent overhead line come across.
Okay. It's difficult to see that far away to see where the location would be, but it's off of Winderham Road.
Yes.
And that will entail another entrance to the property
We have multiple entrances already in place to Winterham.
already. Okay. What are the requirements for the use of a trailer? Well, they're county requirements. What are those requirements?
Requirements would be no different than a regular home.
I guess you mean,
So this is.
It's a setback, it's a certain setback off the main road. But other than that, for a home, it's just a normal setback from the property lines and from state highways.
So this is essentially a development.
Would be no development. This is just a special exemption permit. If it's not using it over a 2-year period to have, the trailers have to be moved.
Say that again, please.
If the trailers are not used for 2 years, they have to be moved on a special exception permit.
Okay.
One trailer.
And the occupancy is up to 8 people or 10 people in a double wide?
I couldn't tell you how big the double wide is. Put as many in there as you can. I mean, we can't control if you build a house, how many you can put in the house either. In other words, we just have, the health department puts in according to the bathrooms
Bedrooms, number of bedrooms.
and number of bedrooms. That's how you put your septic system in. The well doesn't make any difference whether it's 2 people or 100 people. That's up to them. But the
Okay.
septic system is controlled by the bedrooms and the bathrooms, by the health department.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, we're very pleased that we were notified that this was going to happen. When we purchased the property in 1999, we were assured by Senator Watkins that perhaps they would sell some of the 400 acres to family members who would like to live on the property. We commenced with our huge renovation of Winderham, feeling that we could make that investment since Aubrey Anderson owned the Loblolly Forest on one side of the road and Watkins owned the 400 acres on the other side. But before we were even consulted or given first opportunity to buy adjoining property, we were informed that there had been a development and all those properties were sold not to family members, but to other members. And we were so disappointed that we had not even been consulted in the matter. We certainly would have gained, we would certainly have wanted to purchase adjoining property to increase the value of our property. As it is, we have only 15 acres. The property is now for sale, and one of the chief problems is that it's not large enough to be sold as an estate. And that's where we are.
Well, this house or trailer would be on the property, but it would not be deeded separate. In other words, it's just like.
Right,
Personal property.
It's not personal property. It's a personal property of the Watkins.
right.
So they would be paying the taxes on it, not whoever's living in it.
All right. Thank you. I'd like to reference another problem with selling our property. And that is, some of you are aware that there's a trucking company on Grub Hill Church Road that has, at some point in time, was given a permit to build where it never should have been built. It's right across the road from the Grub Hill Church, which is a very important historic landmark. And I'd like to inquire as to how that happened.
We'd have to look into that, ma'am. I do not know. We'd have to go through the county to find out that.
Okay.
We
if
can,
you
I'll
would
try
do-
to get that
If you
answer
would
back
do
to
that,
you.
we'd appreciate it,
Okay.
so that we would have some idea of how the codes and the zoning was simply bypassed to allow that to happen. It's a difficult situation because anyone coming from the north goes past the trucking company. And usually it is so full of trucks that it's almost impossible to see how they could manipulate into the space. They're also impinging upon the Grub Hill Church property to park some of their enormous vehicles. And this is a problem year round,
Okay, we can check into that, ma'am.
okay? Is there a policing authority of any kind that,
I'll just have to check with the county administrator to see what,
please do,
okay.
because since the property is for sale, it's a blight on the neighborhood to have that just up the road from us.
Okay,
And I
Thank you.
know that that Mr. Watkins wants to have as beautiful neighborhood as is possible for his nursery and for his development.
okay.
And we wish him well with that enterprise, and we have no objection to what has been presented to us. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your questions, ma'am. Anyone else like to speak for or against the double wide? Come forward, sir. State your name and address. Earl what?
Dalton.
Dalton?
Live on Winterham Road. Across from Watkins.
Mm-hmm.
And, put up with the trailers and stuff like that with the people. And when I sold my place, they said I couldn't build no other house. But they build them in garages and barns and manure buildings or whatever. And nobody has paid any attention to it. And do you, have any of y'all ever paid, y'all live around them anything?
I come by it if I come to Amelia, sir.
I don't know how you would judge us, what you go put down on next to us, and y'all don't live there, and you don't visit it or nothing. You need to come out and look at all of the situation before you vote on something like this. Cause that's just putting people on you, and you don't know what you're talking about. I vote against it. I don't know about the others, but I don't want them out. I think Mr. Watson's a good man. I don't put him down at all, but I just don't like put people like that right over across the road from me, right in my yard. And they're already around me now. And, you know, they built a room and all up in the garage, and then they got the septic tank running out there, and they ain't even got it in the ground all the way across that. Nobody's been out there looking at it.
Is this on Watkins' property or someone else's property? On what?
Right across the road from Watkins, what I sold, but it's the same amount of people.
Oh,
You gotta watch what you get moved in on you, because they will mess you up.
okay. So this is not on Watkins' property, it's on property next to you,
That's right across the road.
across the road from it. Okay,
Exactly.
okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak for or against? Come on, sir. Just state your name and address, all we ask.
I'm Herbert Dunlow. I live right there on Winterham Road, and none personal against Mr. Watkins. The Watkins are nothing. They're great people, and I think what my father-in-law was saying, because I live right there next to Winterham Road. I mean, the neighborhood it's been a great neighborhood, and already people, though it's been a one-family home on top of the hill of us, it's turned into multi-family homes. In a one-bedroom house, and he's talking like 10 people in one mobile home with 2 bedrooms. So a single family home is supposed to be 2 people and on average. Well, 4, say 40, ma'am. So I guess you're for Mr. Watkins.
No.
But no, but anyway, so I told him probably going against everybody. But anyway, the same thing happened up there. It was one family home, one bedroom house. I bet it's 15 and 20 people up there now. One lived in the garage, like he said. The rumors were they had an apartment going in a chicken house. They're living in campers out back. Where's the sewage going? Have anybody checked on that? Y'all even leave it? Do y'all know the building that's going on back there in the back of the big building back there? They're actually turning that to a house. Sewage is running in the field. I don't know if y'all do that or not. But so, somebody needs to check on that. And what he said, that's all Mr. Watkins' property, but what he's saying, that's right across the road from that. So if you let these people in there like that, and I say these people, I don't mean none against them. They deserve a home just like we do, but these are workers coming in, and in all fairness, he probably don't even know who they are. And nobody knows who they are.
So you don't know if they work for Mr. Watkins?
No,
or
these
work-
people don't work for Mr. Watkins. I'm saying, he's saying, I'm saying, that you can put that right across the road from that. So now we already got a problem across the road, and that's going to end up to the same problem over there. You're talking about 8 to 10 people, then next thing you know, it'll be 25, 30 people in that area. Look, I have grandkids over all the time. That's a great neighborhood for kids, families. And if anybody on this board could tell me right now that you would trust your kids running around with people in your neighborhood you didn't know, and now y'all would do that. And our kids run free. They're farm kids, like most y'all grew up with, on farms or in the country. And our kids run around, play. I mean, they ride motorbikes, bicycles. Now I don't know who these people are, and y'all don't either. And all due fairness, Mr. Watkins probably don't. So we don't want our kids running free and having a good time like they should in their own private property, worrying about other people in the neighborhood you don't know who they are. I mean, and they're not even in this country. And that's we're fully against it.
All right, thank you,
It's
sir.
gonna run the neighborhood we can do. And I bet every one of y'all would want them near y'all, now one of them. And I'm upset, you tell me where my voice is, because it really bothers me with the kids. And I'd already seen it. They have parties on the other side of the road, and it'll be the same thing across there with his. And he probably said it won't be or whatever, but I guarantee you already said it could be one now, maybe two later. Next thing you know, they'll be swamping up there just like the world across the road. And I do ask y'all to check, if you would, send somebody out there, because I know electricity been put in the buildings. I know it's not a licensed electrician, but nobody checked on none of that stuff. And it's stuff built. If I was building something behind my house, I bet y'all, somebody would find it in a second and make me tear it down. And nobody checked on nothing else going around the neighborhood, nothing. So people just moving in like do what they want to do. And it's the same thing will happen. They can cross the road in our neighborhood. Our kids, we don't want them in the yard no more. So we are thoroughly against it. Not against Mr. Watkins, but let him take them up there to Winterham on 60, put them up there somewhere. Or they'll put them in his place, something like that. We don't want them in our neighborhood. Not because of who they are, we don't know what they are.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You can make complaints to the county as well and health department, right?
Yes. We'll check on that.
The health department, maybe we go to.
The health department. Anyone like to speak for or against? State your name and address, all we ask.
I don't have much to say. My name-
Just state your name and address, that's all we.
Flowers, I live on 11741 Winterham Road, right across from the farm. I'm against it because I feel like once you put one trailer out there, there's gonna be another trailer, there's gonna be another trailer, and that's gonna bring our property value down. So I'm against it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
My name is Vincent Holman. My address is 15616 Pope Lane, Amelia, Virginia. I oppose this. My property borders to Watkins Nursery. I don't have any problem with Mr. Watkins, but when I hear maybe possibly in a few years or when, would it be more than just one double wide?
Can't have another one until you come before us again. Normally it's limited to one, only one.
Only one? So in the future, no more.
He'd have to come back before the board, planning commission and the board of supervisors to put any more houses there.
Let's see that in the future, they could change their mind and say, yeah. So I oppose it. I'm against it.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you.
My name is Rhonda Dunlow. I live at 11901 Winterham Road, right across from Watkins. I disagree with Watkins. And you said it's only going to be one.
They can only have, this is a special exemption permit for one
Okay.
double wide.
Did
If they
anybody
have
check?
any more, if they have any other building on that property, they have, that's for housing, they have to come
Right.
back before us.
So when the chicken farm was sold across from Watkins, was they checked to see if it was just one there also?
We didn't,
Doesn't get
we
checked.
don't know about
Yeah.
property across the road.
So saying, are you going to keep checking on this too? I mean, we don't know. That's not a good answer.
They have to come to the health department to get
Yeah.
septic
but
system.
Does the health department go around and check things when things have been done?
If they get a permit, they have to check it.
And if they don't get a permit?
Only thing we know is if you see something, you need to come to the county and let us know.
Because when my dad owned the chicken farm, he couldn't build anything. They're making houses out of garages. They're making houses out of the chicken poop place down there. They're putting campers on the field and no sewage. And it's just going out in the field.
Well, I have a note here for the
Yeah.
health department to check on that, ma'am.
And I'm just saying, one family, one group, and then the next day I knew it's got 20, 30 group, but y'all didn't go out and check it.
Well,
So-
there's no check unless they get a permit, there would be no reason. So those kind of things you definitely have to call in.
So we would have to report it to you guys.
Yes, ma'am.
Our rule,
Yeah.
there are rules against people living camping
Right.
permanently.
Right.
They can't do that.
Okay, well, I disagree with
But
it.
if it comes to the county.
And another thing, it will bring our property value down if it gets out of hand. Like you're saying, one and then another, and then another. It's going to just bring us on down. And we got a pretty piece of property right now.
But I'm just saying, when we're discussing tonight, it's a double wide on the Watkins.
I know what you're discussing, but
We're finding out other things that we
Yes.
will look into.
other things are getting by with it. We feel like if it's going to get by there, it'll get by other places, and it's just not right. I
Thank you, ma'am.
disagree.
Anyone else like to speak for or against before I close the public hearing? Yes, sir, one thing.
What everybody's concerned about is this. He's gonna put this double wide in there. And like you say, it's going all our property value already, put him in there. And we always got a problem on the hill, when we told y'all about that. It's not about that, like we know. But we all know, we live in it already, where the county doing nothing about it. So we gotta go tell the county about it, and do something about it. Wait a minute now. Our father-in-law owned that property right there. Every time he tried to build something, they stopped him right there. They stopped him. They knew he was building something. You can't tell me that somebody in this county don't know they're over there, all their families in there. Somebody in this county knows that, and they'll get by with it. And they got a newer building back there that's got a concrete floor. That they're making, all they got stairs to put the apartment in there. Make a split level apartment in it. It's a tall building, a little tall on that. Putting 4 rooms in that. Nobody even see that stuff. But we got to come tell you all that. Nobody checks on nothing. Say, ma'am?
They're probably not coming for.
Okay, where the sewage going? There's no septic tanks nowhere back there. We know we owned the property before. There's no septic tanks back there nowhere. Where's the sewer going now? And our property right next to that. So, and we're right across the road from him. And their property right next to him. So where's all this sewer going? I know he got a septic tank. But next thing you know, like you said, all he can put on there is one right there, right? Until he comes back to see you again, right?
That's right.
So there you go. It's
Does
already
he-
open.
But he's using the right approach.
He is, I agree, I'll give him that.
The
And
others are not using the right approach.
Nothing against Mr. Walker.
Yeah.
Nothing
And-
against him, he's doing it the right way. But what I'm saying, it's just gonna open up another whole can of worms. I believe, because he said until he comes see you again, then he'll get another permit, then another permit.
No,
You say that, but you passing this one, you already passed it. I can see the face of everybody, it's already passed. That's why we even up here talking. It's already passed.
We've learned a whole lot from you, sir.
Well, I've learned a lot tonight too. I see y'all have the way up here checking. One of those stations, y'all shaking your head and smiling like, oh, for Mr. Watkins there, because he's Mr. Watkins. And I like him too. The Watkins are great people. They're great people. They're good people. Y'all have never had a bit of problem with Watkins. Never. And I'm sure they had never had a problem with us. Great neighborhood. But that neighborhood would go damn like crazy if y'all let the people in there. I'm gonna tell you. Because it's already going down.
Okay.
And I hope y'all do check on the other park we told you about. Because I guarantee you, the other park will be just like that. And don't forget, we're the one that put y'all up here too. Okay? Remember that.
Thank you, sir.
I do have one question.
Anyone else like to speak? We'll get the question when I'll close the public hearing, okay? Anyone else like to speak for or against? Anyone else like to speak for or against? I want everybody to have the opportunity. Hearing and seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Turn it back to the planning commission. Any planning commission members have any questions for Mr. Watkins or anyone?
I do. Where do your laborers currently live?
We have a licensed and inspected building, right on Grove Hill Church Road. And I'll say this, we've been in this program, this is our 27th year, housing the H2A employees. Probably 75% of our employees that we have now have been with us for the better part of that 20+ years. Every year we do get inspected. The health department comes out from the county and the Virginia Employment Commission both come out and do independent inspections of the housing, the square footage of the building, number of windows, the construction, all inspected. That all goes into the formula that they use for the number of people that can be there. Through the program, we do not allow families.
You don't like that?
No, sir. These are the individual workers only.
Good. You say it's 85% for people you know, okay, and you got a four. How do those 25%?
No, I said they've been with us for 20.
How many, 25% coming in, you don't know.
The,
Get fired.
we have one guy that been with us since it's his third year. He's promoted recently. Everyone else.
I had nothing to do. Nothing. I had nothing at all. I'm really doing nothing. Nothing at all. You get to put all you need. They can't. Well, not have other
Any more questions from planning commission members?
So I assume that, Mr. Watkins, the Department of Labor. Rob, question. So the Department of Labor also checks all the H2A laborers to come in the housing and everything.
Labor doesn't come out and inspect annually. They do probably a biannual.
Right, but they do, yeah.
The Employment Commission, out of Blackstone.
Yeah.
Handles our facility, and then also the state county health inspector comes out. Those are both annual inspections every year before we can break.
Right.
Any more questions or comments on the commission, from the commission members?
Mr. Watkins, are you set in stone on having it right here? Are you willing to bend any at all to help your neighbors out? Maybe if it would satisfy them, if you relocated them somewhere else deeper or on the other side?
Well, I think that where we're trying to put it, we're trying to have decent proximity to the road. When we discuss, I think we're over 200 feet from the road. There's already power lines that cut across our property corner there. So, I mean, it was trying to do what kind of makes sense. And it's the topography fielded And there's also a large oak tree in that area, and so we have a pretty extensive landscape package going in around the facility, so I think it'll be pretty well.
Well,
I do. They did. Yeah.
Set up over there near us.
How many, that's not, I'm sorry, how many people have? Eight. You can't put it on the other end? We're trying to put it towards the back of the property just because that's.
The burn up. Right in front of our, right in front of us.
I was just wondering if that was just a set in stone or if you'd be interested in working with the neighbors. And I understand you need help. It's your land. You could subdivide it and give them 500 acres, but you might not have known the feelings that they had by putting it right here. And I was just wondering if you had a plan B that might go along better to satisfy you and them by being deeper.
Suggestions and any comments, and you try to take it, but certainly we want to be a good neighbor. We're not trying to.
Well, my question, the bottom line is, do you have any objections of putting it in there deeper or over on the Grove Hill Church side?
So the property there, along Grove Hill Church Road is not going to be conducive for putting down just the lay of the land, the other operations that we have going on there. Quite frankly, we're developing and growing our container growing area. And so we are already putting facilities in place. So we'd like to have a relatively close proximity for where we're building new hoop houses for our tree and shrub. Yes.
Any more questions from the planning commission members? Comments? Can you hold that down, sir? The public hearing is closed. You can discuss that with Mr. Watkins after the after our meeting, please. Thank you, sir. Does anyone else have questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Or concern? We've heard a lot from not Mr. Watkins' property, but from neighbors' property that we can check into, but we cannot do that here. We have other people to check that. Any questions? What's your pleasure? You heard the recommendation from the county that it meets all ordinances. Do you want to table it until we come up with a different situation? You want to deny it altogether before it goes to Board of Supervisors, but they have the last say one way or the other. It's not for us to decide. Ours is if they meet the regs, it's kind of what we have to go by. Anyone have a recommendation? Or question on a recommendation?
I mean, I've got a comment. I mean,
Make a comment.
You're 300 plus acres. You're looking to put one double wide on it. I think the H2A program is used by a lot of farmers across multiple states. It's a well-regulated. I understand that there's lots of problems across the street and that probably definitely needs to be checked into. But I mean, he's going around it properly. He could easily come in, divide off land and put a house there. I understand the concerns of the neighbors. But he's going about it the right way. It's for legal, a real well-regulated labor force that you have to have to run a farm. So, I understand the concerns of the neighbors, but to me, I mean, you're going about it the right way to try to get housing for your labor force. I am concerned about putting 8 or 10 people in a double wide. But I would think that the employment commission would have a comment on the living conditions of putting 8 or 10 people in a double wide. Maybe that's standard. I don't know. Just my comments.
Any other comments? I mean, Mr. Watkins could put off 3 acres or R3, build a house with income force. Put it, whoever he wanted there. You have to look at it that way too. Any other comments? Suggestions?
Well, I'd just like to say that, it's obvious here that Mr. Watkins is trying to improve his housing situation. And, with the kind of heat we're in now, to have improved housing is certainly for the workers would be a real asset. However, these people that live in the vicinity and own adjacent property have expressed legitimate concerns. And therefore, I think it might be wise to have a 30-day delay to see if it might be possible to move this somewhat further into the interior of the property. I don't know, but certainly we have been educated, and I imagine that others have been educated, including Mr. Watkins, on what we've heard tonight. We can't do it based on the what is across the road, because that's not what's before us. Obviously, that is something that certainly needs to be looked into and investigated. But I would suggest that that a 30-day delay on this would at least allow for some further communication. And all the speakers here have made it clear that it's really not Mr. Watkins, it's what's going to be pretty close to him. And so it could get noisy on a Saturday night. And if it was located further in the interior of this large tract, overall, it might be a benefit to all involved.
Any more comments? Recommendations, considerations?
Like one, I'd like to see them get together and try to compromise in the next 30 days. If they can, they can. If they can't, they can't. Bring it back on the vote.
I get a motion to table it for 30 days until next meeting, which probably 30 days. Or till next meeting for consideration.
I'll second.
Oh,
That
we've got a motion, table it for 30 days.
Table it for 30 days. Sure.
Let me vote on the motion first, ma'am. Motion's made to table it. Second, any more discussion on the motion?
I have something to say.
Sure.
Something I think within the 30-day period, I know exactly what he's talking about. I think most of these y'all need to ride out there and just look at what's across the road, what they're complaining about and where they gonna put that.
All right.
Who owns the
I think
land?
that would be a good thing to do, you know.
Who owns the land across the road where the chicken houses are? Who owns that?
Williams.
Huh?
Williams.
This is where the chicken houses were, where all chicken houses were?
Them, yeah.
Okay.
That where Johnny Ashman farms the fields and stuff like that. Up the hills.
All right. Any more discussion on the motion to table it for 30 days? All right, all in favor of the motion to table it for 30 days? Or maybe reconsideration of possible house site or finding out what's across the road? Make it known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Table for 30 days. We'll review it again in 30 days. It will be not another public hearing for us, but the Board of Supervisors will have a public hearing whether we pass it or not the following month. Yes, ma'am. You had a question?
The other property. Just wanted to understand what we should expect within the.
As I see it, the 30 days would be for the county to reassess it, come back with maybe a recommendation from the health department. And also, I would assume that Mr. Watkins and the county would get together to see if it's another more suitable site for the neighbors, less contentious. That's how I see it. That doesn't mean that I'm right. It's up to the county. We'll turn it back to the county, building inspector, health department, all that, to take all that in consideration, ma'am.
You mentioned that it will be the board of supervisors. When does that mean? Not first.
Third
It would-
Wednesday in July.
It'd be the third Wednesday in July, but it also, well, we don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
Yes. that-
You will know. You should get a letter. But we will not have a public hearing for the planning commission again on the subject. We'll have to vote for or against. We cannot table it again. Once it leaves us, then it goes to the board of supervisors. Now, whether they want to have a public hearing in July, might be August.
It'll be August, right?
But it's-
It'll be August, because they're not gonna come before us till the end
Right,
of.
yeah, right.
Because see, we're July, so we'll meet again in July. This is June. So August would be the first they would get it. But the board supervisors meet the third Wednesday of every month is when their regular meeting is. Now it's something different.
And at that point, it's only up to the board of supervisors to create this city.
They have the final say. We have no final say. We make recommendations and they have the final say. And they will have a public hearing on it that night. Now, whether they vote that night or table it and vote the following month, because I think it's only 60 days, they have to make up a motion.
As long as we all get notified, we can be there.
Should be, everybody should get a notice. Any other questions before I move to the next subject?
Do you want to handle about, she asked about the evaluation of the other property. So I wanted to clarify that we can't, that would not be.
Yes. Let me just speak on the record. That is me. There's already an active complaint on that property and there's already an active investigation ongoing on that property. I have a site visit this week to that property. So the county is looking into that property already. So just be aware of that.
I wanted you to say, but I'm like,
Yes.
once it has it up, it never comes back.
Because you can tell.
I appreciate everyone speaking. We take you in consent. We've learned a whole lot tonight that we did not know. And the county will make sure that the county is aware of what you brought out. And hopefully they'll let us know what has been done. But I do thank you for your participation, because we like the public's participation in all our decisions. We have to kind of go by the rules as what the county has set up. And if they meet a lot of those rules, it's not a whole lot we can do but pass it on to the Board of Supervisors. But the Board of Supervisors have the last say. All we do is make recommendations. But thanks a lot. Appreciate you being here.
I have one more question for Mr. Watkins. Are you planning, is this gonna be a brand new double wide or gonna be a used?
We're actually having a custom built to facilitate the number of bathrooms and bedrooms.
Okay. There you go.
And H2A housing is actually pretty highly regulated and inspected.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's correct.
better than what I live in.
All right, moving to the next subject. This is the ordinance on accessory dwelling units that the zoning board has worked on for what, 6, 7 months? Hopefully, we come up with something that is suitable for all planning commission members and board of supervisors. We discussed a lot of options, and this is kind of what we thought would be the best overall in the long run without a whole lot of new things coming before us. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Then we'll have a public hearing.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as you said, before you is a proposed ordinance for changes for accessory dwelling units. Essentially, it replaces or it adds the definition of accessory dwelling unit and then modifies the detached dwelling unit regulations for accessory dwelling units. Some of the highlights of the requirements would be that approval of the health department, as with anything, would be required. These would only be allowed on lots that do not have density requirements. It would only be allowed on lots that are twice the size of the zoning district minimum. So for example, if a property is zoned A5, they would have to have 10 acres and able to have an accessory dwelling unit. It would be limited to 1,000 square feet of conditioned floor area. They'd be limited to no more than 2 bedrooms. And the setbacks would have to be the same as primary structures. These would be allowed by a special exception in the R1 district and then would be allowed by right in the other districts, A5, RP5, R3, R10, R5, and R3. So essentially, if they were to meet the requirements of this section, they would not come before you or the board. We would just administratively issue them a permit. So if they have twice the lot size and meet all these other requirements, then they could have an accessory dwelling unit without coming before the planning commissioner board for public hearing. But if they don't meet these requirements, it would not be allowed at all. So that's sort of the difference from currently with the detached dwelling unit. In some of these districts, A5, RP5, and R3, it's allowed by a special exception permit request, but there are no limitations on square footage or acreage or the number of bedrooms. This would put in place more restrictions, but allow it to be by right. So,
Thank you.
any questions?
All right, any members got questions?
Is there anything in there that says if you have 50 acres, you can't have 2 ADUs on the same parcel?
Like.
Yeah, I believe there's something here that says it only allows 1. I'm not to find that part.
I think it's just allowed one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where that is. I wouldn't think you would need 2 accessory dwellings.
No, but
I just don't want to say
Get around it, build a bunch of 900 square foot.
without having to come before us.
Easily.
It was by right. And
I think it's a
I think
good
it's what they're
thing.
getting at, if we didn't have it in here.
Yeah. Good point, that's right.
Because they're by right, we just said, yeah, so they could get away with building 6 of them.
And which,
Right, if we don't say 1.
and which zonings were they by right and for?
By right in A5, RP5, RR3, R10, R5, and R3.
That's a-
It's in part 5.
Mm-hmm.
Part 5 of the
Only-
ordinance lists those.
The only where they'd have to come, a special exception is, what is that one? It's
R1.
R1. They'd have to come before us for a special exception.
So it definitely needs to say 1 somewhere.
Thank you.
Say the 1. And we attach.
I guess this.
Do we add that for G,
Oh, let's see.
for H?
Yeah, it should be in the, it should be in this.
Under Part 2, Section 325-4.9, add it as G, as H. Only 1 per dwelling,
Parcel.
They per
parcel. That's just a suggestion. Or see what the lawyer says.
The
So
only
it's-
thing
I've got
I
a-
see with the
yeah.
by right here is, you don't really know, I mean, there's a whole range of things that accessory. Yeah, I mean, you talk about the dwelling part, but still it can be a whole range of things that they can be built for or eventually be. So, when they don't come, back in, then, you know, you don't really know exactly the category of the structure that is being put in.
These are for accessory dwelling.
Well, they're for dwelling, it's not for, right?
Barns, yeah.
That's the whole point. Yeah. I think what he's trying to say is that you could get away with building something that's not a dwelling, do you think that?
No,
Yeah, this is for,
Well, an accessory unit can be
Shop.
yeah, it can be,
But it's called accessory dwelling unit.
but this can only be having bathroom, bedrooms. So if you're building a shop, you wouldn't have 2 bedrooms. You probably could have a bathroom.
It wouldn't be considered a dwelling unit.
Right.
yeah, and for example, this is built to where if someone wanted to have a shop, and then also have a dwelling unit component to that, that's where we have the part that says that an accessory dwelling unit shall not exceed 1,000 square feet of conditioned floor area. So that's intended if someone did want to build a garage or a shop that's larger than 1,000 square feet, and then have a smaller apartment as part of that, that would be allowed under this. But the living part of it would have to hold to that 1,000 square feet. Because currently anyone can build any size garage they want to on their property as long as they meet setbacks and other requirements, and is for personal use. That's allowed anyway as an accessory building today in zoning. And this would allow for someone to have one accessory dwelling unit in part of that building. But that accessory dwelling unit would be limited to 1,000 square feet.
But they would still be held to all of the same requirements, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a rule that it can't be faulted on a principal house. it can't-
Any of those rules would still, any of those would still apply. Yeah. Anything else that currently for an accessory building would still apply in that case.
and it can just be 1 bedroom, correct?
It can just, yes, it's just a maximum of 2.
Two.
Correct.
So,
And cannot be used as a business district.
I mean, you're not go over 1,000 fresh feet if you build it over a garage. 24 by 24 garage, only 576 square feet. So,
No, I was just thinking back to that couple that wanted to build the $500,000 garage within a
Barn dominium.
Would that have, I mean, that would have been less than 1,000 feet of conditions.
It wouldn't have meant. They couldn't have done it in the subdivision anyway.
Right, pretend they weren't in a subdivision. Would they have not even had to come to us for that? I mean, that's huge.
No,
Is there
they
any?
could build it, but it couldn't have been over 1,000.
It would
square
depend
feet.
on the living square footage of it.
Right,
So,
but you're saying there's no limit to the non-limit.
right, and there's not anyway today. And someone can build a 4,000, or someone can build a 5,000 square foot garage if it's not a dwelling. Somebody can do that today, so.
I got you.
I do think it ought to be amended to say the only one per parent track or one.
Yeah, definitely.
One per track.
Yeah, I've got right now, only one accessory dwelling unit shall be allowed per parcel. I'll just make sure we got the right word for that.
Does that have to be changed, brought back to us, or can we vote on that with that change?
Right.
I'd assume we could vote with that
I think we can
change.
vote with the change. It's more restrictive, not less restrictive, so I think that would be fine.
All right, I make a motion to accept it with the change.
Yeah, it's in.
Could have really still.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is, just brought to my attention, we can make the update, then we have a public hearing.
Yeah, check with the lawyers first.
Well, we haven't had the public hearing yet.
That's what I'm saying.
So yes, I don't think there's any issue with making that change and holding the public hearing. It's not,
It's
yeah,
more
it's
restrictive.
more restrictive, which.
The main
would be
thing
okay.
that we're trying to discuss is really what the accessory dwelling unit is.
Correct. Yep.
These others are the restrictions for the buy right on the. Is that how? Yeah, I think that's how I understand it.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we're trying to get it so that board supervisors that commented that they didn't want it in subdivisions. Well, it can't fit in the subdivisions if it doesn't meet twice acreage. So that would pretty much get that out. And then with the 1 acre one, the same type of thing too. It'd have to come before us for that. The others by right, they would come in if they met all the specs on here that we had through H. Then it was up to the county to make the decision and not really burden us. Because you got to remember too, that if it's coming to us, it's $500, give or take, for public hearing notice. That you're costing the county a lot too. I mean, but cost is not everything if you don't get it right to start with. Any more comments? I mean, this wasn't dealt with lightly, I'll tell you that. I mean, I don't know how many meetings we didn't have. And threw out a few items, you know, the size and things like that. And got comments back from y'all and comments back from other people, so we'll try to get away from that and put regulations in. How do you feel this would go before the board of supervisors, Dexter? I will.
It's what y'all asked for.
I will ask you that. I mean, I talked with.
The key to this is one word, subdivision.
Right. And
See,
that's,
that
and that's out.
subdivision can't be in there.
Right.
I was just wondering, I know of one in Powhatan, I don't know if it's any in Amelia, but people have a barn with animals in it, horses mostly, and the loft, they make apartments.
We have
out of
one
it.
here. Oh, not apartments. We have.
Y'all-
Well, I'm talking about living.
There's some.
There's several
Would
of
that
them,
fall into this?
there's several of them in the county.
Our veterinarian.
Yeah,
Would that fall under, in this,
it'd be just like an apartment, just like if you had a garage.
but the barn and animals, you know, livestock doesn't just say things, you had to buy a 4-car garage.
So this only comes into play too if you already have a house on your property. So yeah, but yeah, if somebody had an agricultural building and then already had a house on the property and want to have an agricultural building and then have a part of it for this, for a accessory dwelling unit, this would fit under that with those restrictions. They would have to get a building permit as well, even though it's an agricultural building at that point. So.
Seems like we got
We-
quite a few, well, that one person comment, they never got a builder.
Well, that's the thing, is they never went through the process. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
We have, one that I'm aware of where the, actually, the barn that was in existence, 4 horses and so forth, it burned down. And it came to the planning commission. And the property was 300 or 400 acres. And both the planning commission approved the construction of it. But the apartment is in the second floor. And that's the only thing, this is, there's a limit on the height limit. And that might be restricted.
Yeah, he was saying it still has to meet those requirements in addition to, right?
Right.
It still has to meet the requirements.
Yes,
They have to meet.
Yeah, because the garage part will be an accessory building and those are requirements for an accessory building to meet those height
Is
requirements.
that verified? Yes, it is.
The accessory dwelling unit would only apply to the 1,000 square foot part. The rest of it will be looked at as an accessory building, which would still meet those requirements.
It's still one building when it goes to a building permit,
Yeah.
right? So then they're still gonna look at the total height, and they would still have to follow it.
Correct.
Any more comments?
So does this then eliminate a second floor?
No, it wouldn't eliminate a second floor
Encourage the second floor without having to come to us.
without height, as long as it met the height requirements.
It's only 1,000 square foot.
I'll open public hearing in a minute, sir. I'll open public hearing in a minute.
Down the road, because it's all can of worms.
All right, do you want me to? Is it okay to open the public hearing
Yeah.
with the added H?
Yeah, and just if you ask me to come back after the public hearing,
I
and
will.
I'll make sure, so I can make sure you get the recommendation correct without additions. Yep. Thank you.
Now I'll open the public hearing. Because we can't have a motion until I have a public hearing. State your name and address. That's all we ask.
All right, Paul White, 7631 Merlin Way. And just going back to a couple months ago, where I brought the issue up with accessory structures and how we define them in the county documentation. So this whole thing, our issue could potentially come at play down the road if we don't clearly define, in accessory structures that how we describe them should be like the zoning of the primary structure. So, going back to in our subdivision, we have detached garages for the last 20 years, and now different sections of the county decided to call them hangars. And now you can't get a residential loan that meets secondary mortgage investors guidelines. And so you're stuck on being able to sell your property at market value. So this is just it needs to be solved. So if, this is a good way you're talking about accessory dwelling structures, and I think it would be helpful to look at the description of how we call these things in county documentation that aligns with the real world and the marketplace of mortgages.
But you're speaking of not dwelling, right?
No, it's an accessory structure. So is what I'm, a garage, a shop, a storage building. When you call it in the tax document, an office, a hangar, a warehouse, if you use that, if you're loosening your terminology, you can't get a loan on the property because it's the mortgage companies think that's commercial use and residential use, and it doesn't meet the, check all the boxes, and so nobody wants to touch it. Um, so that's our problem that we got now. And so if we just, you're already doing stuff with accessory structures, so it'd be a good chance to fix this problem too. But I got some draft wording.
I guess this is addressing accessory dwellings and addressing accessory buildings or structures.
That's relevant accessory to the primary building.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing.
It kind of is, but it's language cleaned up. Put
Yeah.
that umbrella.
All right.
You've got a problem. With 9 houses, can't get a loan, but just like neighborhood behind you, all of a sudden.
But I would think if you got stuff in it besides an airplane, it would have to be considered a garage, but if it's got airplane in it, it's probably gonna be considered a hangar.
There is no definition of what
A hangar is.
a hangar is in any county documentation, so therefore it's left up to any individual's decision, which causes the problem.
Okay.
So
That may be something we'll have to come back before the zoning to come up with the language to be voted on.
But,
Go ahead.
but I don't think that's something, yeah,
That's-
exactly. We can't control what somebody has in their building. That would not really be us.
No, I
We
mean,
can't
No.
control offices or warehouses, because we don't control what you put in your accessory.
but when the
We
county
have definitions.
That's
calls it,
for not our office at all, right? Often.
We have definitions for buildings and
the
code.
county needs to have some standard guidelines that make sense, and we
Yeah.
don't right now, right?
I'm not.
So,
Just come up with the guidelines. We'll have to work with the guidelines.
and those are, I mean, it's real common sense. It's not rocket science.
I think when that originally came before the county, it was described as an airport development. Is that correct?
No, this is not the airport.
Oh, this is not there.
Oh, it's not special.
Okay, you're not talking about, Maryland.
So the house on Minmer.
Borders that property, but it's not that.
I see.
So it's neighboring property.
Oh, I see. It's not Maryland.
Anyone else like to speak? Just state your name and address.
Ronald White, 7851 Merlin Way. And I was saying what Paul was saying, basically, y'all are talking about this dwelling, but you said barn or garage or shop associated with it. And I'm just saying that you define our buildings as hangars because you can put an airplane in there. But you got my truck in there, that could be a garage. Or somebody puts a tractor in a hangar building. Is it a barn now or? It should, what's in the structure shouldn't define how the structure is addressed or taxed. It's a storage building. That's all it is.
Okay.
Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak for or against accessories? I close the public hearing. Turn back to planning commission. Roy came up a while ago with a motion,
I still do the motion to approve it with the change.
approve it with the change of one per parcel H. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All right, the motion made and second. Any more discussion on the motion? Any more discussion? We ready to vote on the motion? All right, we'll vote on the motion. Are you want to speak, Austin, before we vote on the motion? You got it? You asked to speak, so I just want to make sure. All right. All right, you heard the motion for our proposal plus adding H, one per parcel. All in favor of the motion, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried 100%.
Austin, in the back of our zoning ordinances, don't we have a glossary as a list of definitions?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Is it possible, those what you guys are asking for, to go in there and make, and denote a hangar as a permanent storage facility for an airplane, for an aircraft. And in that way, if it's not an aircraft in it, you can't be classified as a hangar.
We could, however, a hangar is not a use in any zoning district currently, so you'd be creating a definition for something that's not a use anyway. The word hangar is nowhere in the zoning ordinance, so there's.
That's, I was just trying to say, that's more of, that's not really something coming from that, whether sometimes a garage or a shop or whatever, like that use isn't coming from.
Yes, it's a line that you say. It's residential. Well, it's never residential.
Isn't that be more commissioner? Yeah, that's more of a commissioner. It would not be planning commission. It would be and that would get to the assessment, I'm assuming the assessment, right? What the, how they classify it, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, it's with the Commissioner Revenue Office ultimately, yeah.
So unfortunately, that's not.
But if you guys would just help us out with like, let's be reasonable. Everybody's. We're trying to get, you know, some reason of like, let's have a definition in the sense that.
Yeah, there's been a letter sent that from the zoning perspective, we see this as a residential accessory building. So that's what's been done from the zoning office in this case.
I will look into that.
Could it be this year?
It's not, it also in your man, not unfortunately.
What's the process to like, put it with you guys? I mean, it's.
It would not come before us, it would come before a different group, right? That's what we gotta find out.
Yeah, I mean, if for a change to the ordinance, it would come through the planning commission. If there were a change to the ordinance, I guess what I'm saying is I don't know if there needs to be a change to the ordinance. So
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, they've got a legitimate issue.
Yeah.
That they can't get.
Right.
You can't get a residential loan, a regular loan, because the way the county is classifying
Right.
their storage.
Right, I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
So, I mean, I
Yeah.
feel for them. I don't know
Right.
where, I mean, there's got to be somebody that can go to address that.
I don't see why we couldn't put some sort of terminology in there saying, you know, the term hangar reflects only for commercial use property or something, and take it out of the residential property.
We don't, it's not in there.
yeah, the word hangar is not in the zoning ordinance anywhere.
But I
was
think
thinking maybe it
that's where it's
should be in
going.
there,
Let's add it in there, right? Make a definition.
The neighborhood's always been, it's kind of grandfathered in, it's always been residential. They have hangars that you can fly from your house, get in your hangar and fly away.
I mean, generally, you talk about hangars, you talk about commercial property around airports and stuff, for the most part.
So it sounds like it's more of a discussion with Commissioner's office and assessors
3 years.
as to how that, as to how.
Got changed. You know, from how you know, if it's been one way for so long, how all of a sudden it just got changed.
Well, was it ever, or it wasn't always hangar? Is that always been hangar?
It's always been built,
No,
always
it's
been
always been
attached
garage.
garage. It was always been,
It was detached and then it changed. I mean,
it
that's how
just, that's what I'm saying. So how did it just get changed?
The Commissioner of Revenue redesignated the terminology as hangar, not
Calls on herself to change it.
because, well, money.
Actually, so,
the assessor.
It could have been the assessor.
Mm.
You can't do the Commissioner of Revenue.
Okay.
Could it be something like a residential detached personal hangar classification?
oh, we passed garage.
It's a,
I think you guys said a hangar term, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
We already have detached garage.
Yeah, I mean, but if you like, what's it, if you classified hangars as only in
Commercial property.
commercial property, then
That
by
was-
default, everything else would become storage.
Because I mean, over at the airport, they have a hangar, right?
Yeah, then that's commercial property.
Right, right,
No problem with that.
right.
Okay.
Okay, and come in front of the planning commission again, go through the process of coming back to the planning commission.
So
Bring
if
it
we-
up, we change it.
it's,
If we
is
did.
it for us to change?
What?
Is it for us to change the board of supervisors?
We're changing this. They gotta go in front of the board.
Oh, yeah, yeah, ultimately you have to go to the board. I think there are more questions of
Got
would a change even matter for the commissioner's office or not?
Right, I don't.
Also.
Yeah, I don't think her policy is to look at what we say something.
Right, yeah, whether this was there or not, I don't know if the assessor would have classified the building differently. They're just looking at the building itself. So I don't know how that.
But I don't see why we couldn't put something in the office saying the term hangar relates only to commercial use property or something.
But then we would have to put hangar in the ordinance.
Yeah, the word hangar is nowhere in the ordinance currently. And if someone were to build a hangar on a airport property today, I think we would probably call that an accessory building on an airport.
Well, and
So-
hangar that.
Yeah, which are probably classified through zoning as accessory buildings to the primary use of the property, which is an airport. So
I think what he's trying to say is, we have an ordinance for accessory dwelling. We don't define what all the different accessory dwellings are and how that relates to tax, right? I mean, the planning commission doesn't have definitions of every possible accessory dwelling and what that means and how that gets carried out. That's the,
We have definitions for dog kennel.
do it,
We have definitions for like dog kennels.
that
Mowing.
specific one. But I'm just, well, that's what I think he's trying to say.
those are things that would be primary. So if there could ever be a case where a hangar would be a primary use of a property, then that could be a reason to put a use in there. I don't know that would ever be a situation, but that's what things like a dog kennel could be, a standalone use on a property. That's the reason.
The airport itself does have hangars that they're using for their commercial aircraft on the commercial properties. It's already being done.
Right, yeah. But they're on a property that the airport's at, so they're probably classified through zoning as accessory buildings. A reason to put the use in would be if a hangar would be a primary use of a property.
Another can of worms to work on. Well, we'll see what we can do, sir. We haven't forgotten this subject. But-
So in context, Commissioner Gregory said, hey, you don't have to say go to circuit court. So another section of the county says, hey, this is how we should do this thing. Circuit court would like, you should do it that way. Because right now it's not defined anyway. So it's just one person can decide the rules,
Unfortunately,
You like to speak, sir?
I mean, I get the frustration, but we can't.
Have any other counties defined it?
Yes, it's detached garage, that's the stadium.
No, but so you're saying the county says a hangar is a detached garage in another county?
Yeah, and was a detached garage in this county. And it's not just Maryland,
So what, can you give us an
It's
example,
out there.
so we can go look at the county ordinance that says a hangar is a detached garage?
Oh, I don't know that county.
Oh.
there's other runways in this county that had hangars there for years. Some probably listed as bonds, the joint use will stored in there. And, I can think of at least 4 airports, 5 airports around here that have multiple buildings. You put an airplane in or you put bombs. Hilltop, which is not used for airport anymore. But for years, it was a commercial operation. And the Dollar Moore he was a farmer. And he had airport. So, like you were saying, I know it's not a definition, but does it make a difference when they restore his tractor and it's hanging? It's a nail and bomb?
Not to us, that's what I'm saying,
So, I mean.
Yeah, I'm saying.
You can put it being built, there would be one call, and it should be fine.
But our ordinance doesn't define anything. That, I think that's where the divide is.
Yeah.
Like our ordinance currently doesn't.
You'll build and one day in the garage.
Right, and that's all our ordinance says.
But then if somebody says it's a hangar, and it's a different tax
The
rate.
county, is under the umbrella of the county, that's sure, the law.
problem is,
We can, right,
the commissioner revenue does not answer to us.
right, and we can't.
Right.
Like, we have attached dwelling units, and we have attached accessory, and we don't define what an accessory. You don't have a long list of if it's got. Hamilton's, it's this. Like, we don't get into that level of, because we don't care what you use it for. I mean, once we approve it, it doesn't matter if you wanted to shop one year and a garage the next and a wordsmith the next. I mean, you don't, that doesn't come to us. And nobody would come check that.
I think your best bet
So-
is to go to the circuit court because she will answer to the judge. Everybody answers to the judge. But she doesn't answer to us. I mean, we have no real control over her terminology, but
Yes, you know, but we can get another section of the county that say, hey, we agree with this some way, or, you know, but we can on.
I agree with you,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter.
Right.
Another part of the county that says, hey, you want consistency on. Or maybe we say, you know, we want, you know, some of this, so whatever.
Yeah, only thing we're asking you to find some little common definition of what accessory building is.
All right, let's see if we can check on that, but I'm not sure how far we can get. Appreciate your comment.
Do we have a list of like buildings that fall under accessory building?
Accessory building's a definition we have.
Do we have a list that falls under accessory building, like garages, barns? I mean,
It's I believe that, don't quote me on this exact definition, but accessory building definition is essentially it's a building accessory to the primary use of the property, subordinate to. So
We don't have a list of things that fall in that category.
yeah, it depends on what the property is used for. For example, if you build a accessory building on agricultural property, it's for agricultural. If you build an accessory building on a commercial property, it's a commercial accessory building. So it depends on what the primary use of the property is. That's what it's accessory
If
to.
we had a list of items that's under accessory building for residential, you could say residential aircraft storage falls under the accessory building.
But
Yeah. So
who's saying her?
it wouldn't. In so theoretically, for every primary use you have, you can have accessory buildings for those primary uses. So yeah, I don't know that there's a problem that can be fixed with the zoning ordinance in this situation.
I think it's a problem that county itself can't do much. The judge is the only one that can do anything
I think you're right.
because of the personalities of those folks. All right, the only comment I have is if you'd like to come to the comprehensive planning meeting on Thursday at 2:00 here,
Another?
it was changed because they had a conflict.
I'll click that there. I didn't know it got changed.
So now it's changed to Thursday at 2:00 here,
26.
26.
I missed that.
The air conditioner will be working that day.
I couldn't tell you.
It's going to be a whole lot cooler outside.
If don't, I guess we'll open these windows like we used to and go.
Where is it?
We'll have it here, but he said if the air conditioner's not working, you're gonna have it here. I said, well, don't you have it outside?
Oh, how hot it is outside. You ought to come to the meeting and get a cool break.
Oh, because yeah, Connor, yeah.
But that's at 2 and,
That works good.
Temperature's supposed to be down.
On my calendar, so
It got changed from Tuesday to Thursday. Is that what we're talking about?
yeah, it was Tuesday a week ago and they changed it to Thursday this week.
And it got changed, 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock.
It actually is on my calendar.
Also, it'd be a meeting in July on a Tuesday and a Thursday, one at Painful and one in Manbur. And then the following week on a Wednesday for this plan, comprehensive plan, trying to get suggestions in those areas. But that will be brought up again on day after tomorrow, Thursday, to finalize those dates and times
So the meet for that.
for kind of in July.
Back to the Merlin thing, I just got a text from someone that's watching the meeting that says the definition comes from their covenants for the Merlin subdivision. The covenant states that an accessory building is a hangar. And so they're saying that could be where it's coming from, and that's where we want to look.
I thought.
So that could answer that question.
Say he
If
didn't remember.
it's a covenant issue, then.
Yeah, but I thought they said they didn't live on that property. Yeah,
Respond.
They don't,
Somebody's
they don't
watching.
live on the airport property, they live next door to it.
but it's still the Maryland property?
I did the subdivision for Dick Kavanaugh.
Oh,
I was just saying something for whoever's looking into it, that
I did
the
too.
covenants could be the issue.
Kavanaugh created it.
did anyone else have any information? A meeting's coming up. As far as I know, that's the only thing right now. But we're still working on a comprehensive plan, so it's gonna be a while before we get that nailed down. But the ones in July, we're trying to get into the different areas of the county to get some more ideas. That's kind of what the residents are looking at for Amelia County.
Okay.
So, and I think the time we set up was 6:30, but it should be coming out on what's happening in Amelia on the website. I think some brochures at different, businesses also trying to spur up some information and
You
things.
got one on 22nd, right?
July,
July 22nd.
yeah, that's the one here.
Okay.
Kill me.
The other one's the week before, I think it's Tuesday and Thursday night at 6:30.
Do we have to attend those?
We don't have to attend them. I'm gonna try attending the first two, the third one I won't be here.
Yeah, I was
So,
gonna say, one of them I'm on vacation, but I was gonna try to go to the one that's in my district. There was one of these, well,
it's Painful Farm,
one here in the town, so I was gonna go to that one.
Yeah. Painful and Mamber. We figured those in the Shula area could come here or go to one of the others.
It's not a bad idea to make sure somebody from the planning commission is in each one.
Well, I'm planning on nothing happens
Yeah.
the week before, but
To be able to
that
answer.
following that 22nd, it's not gonna work for me. That's all I have. I appreciate it. I guess we found out a lot tonight that we didn't
7.
really want to know about. What else you have,
Oh, I
Alton?
say, it's at 7 o'clock. So
At 7?
Painville on the 15th. Yes, the meetings are at 7. Painville on the 15th, Mamber on the 17th.
15.
Yeah, Painville on the 15th, Tuesday the 15th, 7 o'clock. Manborough, Thursday the 17th,
Yeah.
7 o'clock.
I'm gonna be in South Carolina.
Then the one in town is gonna be 20.
And then 22nd here at 7
I
o'clock.
can make the 17th to the 22nd.
I was planning on being there too. I can show you on my calendar.
That's all right.
Ain't gonna work over there.
Well, that's all right. No
I
problem.
ain't been like the last 5 of them.
Just come when you
Hard
can.
to get here 10 to 2.
I know.
Oh, yeah, man, it's
Well,
just tough.
I missed several too because of work, but I.
Come to one of them, I'm
Like, I think
I think to a couple of them, but it was cold back when I was coming.
It's freezing up in here now. I'm like,
All right. Meeting adjourned. Appreciate you coming. Appreciate you coming, David.
Yeah, David asked me.
David listening, Lord knows what you.
Yeah.